I am Brian Ferris, resident of Guilford, Connecticut, developer and owner of Brian Ferris Construction, LLC. I share this brief account for those of you who hold your town officials to a higher standard. For those of you who believe there is a place for honesty and integrity in town politics. For those of you who are patriots and support our military and their families. And for those of you who believe that there are causes worth fighting for. I have endured 5 long years of red tape, roadblocks, and loopholes in order to fulfill a commitment I made to the U.S. Coast Guard to construct safe and adequate housing for the families of those personnel serving locally. As a responsible developer, and one who has always tried to work with the town boards, I applied in February of 2005 for a special permit, which would preserve more than 60% of the land I was to develop into Northern Heights for the town of Guilford. As this arrangement greatly benefited Guilford, they were extremely supportive of my application.
The whole idea here is to try to preserve as much of this piece of property as possible. It is an exceptional piece of property.
It's great to have this opportunity to have some input. It's really an unusual site. It's like no other place in Guilford. It's really fabulous.
And this is just a great New England community. For some of these Coast Guard members, it's their only experience ever being in New England. And I could think of no better place but to be in Guilford.
Though Guilford openly supported the submission of my application the previous March, it became clearly opposed within weeks after learning U.S. Coast Guard families who cannot be taxed on federal property, would be residing there. Out of the 23 families intended for my housing development, only 9 are currently housed here due to the unreasonable and unlawful opposition from both the town of Guilford and its neighboring town of Durham. Due to their actions, my project was sabotaged. Applications were unjustly denied, funds were extorted, unnecessary work was demanded, time was wasted. And most importantly, 23 of our country's military personnel and their families were displaced, while these towns created various delays behind fabricated issues.
Hi, I'm Summer Halling. My husband's in the U.S. Coast Guard, and we were expected to move into a military house that was ready for us, but for some reason we were unable to move in. I was 6 months pregnant at the time. I was hoping to move into the house and set up the nursery for my soon-to-be son. And I was unable to, so I had to stay in various places and sleep on mattresses, and thought I would be in the house by the time my child was born, but I was not very happy with the situation we were in.
Durham used my application for the Northern Heights subdivision as a means to extort funds, time, and work. They demanded I reconstruct the entire length of road leading from their town to my subdivision, though all credible sources reported no safety issues with it.
Those are our traffic studies. There'll be no significant impact to the roadway network upon completion of the development. At no time has the Guilford Fire Department experienced any difficulty with apparatus responding and utilizing this portion of Crooked Hill Road due to its construction. The access road in Durham is not a safety problem in that there are similar hilly roads that buses use on a regular basis. We presently use that road with a van, and it is our understanding that Durham buses use the road on a daily basis.
Despite all of the facts, Durham effectively convinced the town of Guilford to impose illegal conditions to the approval of my application, requiring me to enter into an agreement with Durham and pay all of the costs of the road reconstruction.
We've changed the commissioners' minds and now have the ability to compel very costly and complicated improvements to Crooked Hill Road before Mr. Ferris can construct 1 unit of housing.
Due to these unnecessary and unjust actions, Guilford delayed approval of my application and deferred occupancy of these homes by U.S. Coast Guard families for several years. In a letter to Guilford's First Selectman, Ballas Tracy, a proud military spouse requests an explanation for the months of delay her family has endured to occupy these homes. She writes,
"Please help me and other Coast Guard families make sense of why these beautiful homes are being built, yet we are not permitted to live in them. We are here to help the community, not hinder it."
Due to Durham and Guilford's delay, this woman's children, along with many others, missed their first week of school, while the families resided in various motel rooms and other temporary, unsuitable housing. Eventually, she was forced to forego this opportunity and find tolerable housing elsewhere. The newly elected selectmen were of no help to my cause. Guilford's first selectman, Ballas Tracy, said that he did support what I was doing for the U.S. Coast Guard, but he could not publicly support me. In a calculated effort to stop these families from becoming residents of Guilford, town staff stopped building permits and certificates of occupancy only on homes intended for the Coast Guard. Durham's first selectman, McLaughlin, stated,
"Being that the Coast Guard is stationed in New Haven, then they can live out there."
Prior to issuing certificates of occupancy for the homes are being built. The Coast Guard is anxious to move in, but those certificates will not be issued.
Ultimately, I was issued the first 5 certificates of occupancy, mostly due to a desire to avoid litigation, as stated in an email to the Board of Selectmen by Durham's first selectwoman, Laura Francis.
I was notified of their decision to issue certificates and stated my objections. However, they didn't want to enter into any litigations with Mr. Ferris. I don't think Guilford wanted to incur legal fees.
I was only able to procure the next 4 certificates of occupancy after installing a massive underground water tank at my expense in the dead of winter, right across the street from an established fire pond. Nonetheless, 9 of the 23 Coast Guard families are housed, despite the efforts of both towns to undermine this project. And for this, I am proud.
Now I'm pregnant again, and we've been in this house for almost 2 years. We're very happy with it, and we are very blessed to have this house now.
In a letter from Rear Admiral Thomas Ostabo, on behalf of Admiral Thad Allen, he explains,
"The Coast Guard is very appreciative of your cooperative efforts toward this program to help close the critical housing shortfall in the Guilford, Connecticut area. The new homes that your company constructed are of excellent quality and have contributed to a better quality of life for the Coast Guard personnel stationed in your sector, Long Island Sound region. We continue to have a need for additional high-quality housing in the area. Please be assured that we share a mutual desire for the continued success of this program."
It is for this that I have fought for the past 5 years, and it is for this that I will continue to fight until all 23 Coast Guard families are accommodated. However, I am in need of your assistance to complete this task. Due to years of delay, dissipation of time and funds, and manipulation by these towns and their officials, this project is in real jeopardy of collapse. Please visit northernheights.info to learn about ways you can help house these military families like them. Thank you.